Hi everyone. So today, what is today? April 7th, 2020. First live stream in a real while because last week was just kind of talking about doing live streams again. It's been an interesting week already. And interesting enough, just before, probably about I want to say like 40 minutes before starting the session or the live stream, there was this tonal sound. So when Dave gets home, I'll have to ask him if he has anything that makes like a mechanical sound that sounds like music. It was the weirdest thing. Um, it was loud but wasn't loud. And my swiper, she turned in the direction of the hallway at the same time I did, as I could hear the music play. So, and at this point, since it's been so long and I'm already not thinking, I can't even remember what the sound sounded like, but it was kind of like, doo doo doo, like that. And I was just like, huh, interesting. Spirits are always so chatty. At least they are for me. It's nonstop, it's all the time. But, it's part of the curse of having spiritual abilities. It honestly is. You don't ever get a break. Um, and then I also did a private little reading for somebody just for before coming on. And so as I was kind of tuning into who's all here and what needs to be said, the first thing I started to hear was some like general messages that we all need to hear, and unfortunately we don't always hear them. But then as some of my viewers came on, instantly I heard Di's mom say, "You're tired, you're exhausted, you're doing a lot for your daughter and your grandkids, and it is awesome that you are. But don't forget about yourself either. And if you forget about yourself, then you will very easily find yourself not feeling well and run down. And so she wants you to always remember that no matter what, take a break." And that also goes for your daughter. Which I know I still need to get out there too. I keep going to schedule something and then lots of stuff starts to happen. So I do apologize, but I will get with you today and schedule a day and time I can get out to you. Okay, so with that, there's a few things that need to be said. So the general message that I keep hearing that we need to talk about in general is that a lot of people are not speaking up for themselves. They are trying to fit into boxes of what other people expect them to be versus truly being who they want to be, and where um, choices that they want to make actually come into play. And so instead, what's occurring is you're fitting into boxes that would never be able to have fulfillment, and it's causing relationships to struggle when, if in the beginning you were just verbal about what you truly were feeling and what you wanted to actually have happen versus what you're trying to make happen. And so we tend to all get lost in relationships like that. And it's important to find some happiness for yourself, no matter what that looks like, um, and ensure that even if it's the smallest thing, such as like a meal or what time you want to go to sleep, voice that. It's so important to respect your own self and respect your body. And the more that our world is thrown into these crazy situations of turmoil and uncertainty, the worse it seems to be getting. So there is a lot of us that are lost right now. And as soon as we can start to find ourselves, the sooner we'll feel less lost and less concerned. So, we all have our own journey and our own inner health, and it's not about doing yoga necessarily, or go and get Reiki done, or this, that, or the other thing. What it actually comes down to is, what is it that truly you enjoy doing by yourself and then go do that. So for me, it's making stained glass artwork. Like that is what I truly enjoy doing by myself. And I just take that time to do that, which helps me decompress a little bit. And in the end, it's about that decompression. So it's extremely important that, we take those moments of time. So that's a general one. Normally it's out at the end, but it's been a while, so they wanted to kind of throw that in real quick. And it's interesting. I have some family members here which typically do not talk, so I will let them chime in. First, my Aunt Sue is here, and she wants not only her husband to know, but also her kids to know that they're all doing pretty good. She's frustrated with some of them. She feels that some of them could be making better decisions for themselves. She is worried for her husband that he is given up and not fighting anymore. And that's okay if that's what he wants to do, but she doesn't want him to give up just yet, that there's still a lot there. So she wants me to say that out there. So any of my family who happen to hear that, great, yay. Surprisingly, Morgan has been with me as well, and he wants to let some of his friends know that, especially the ones that are struggling with staying clean, that he knows they can do it, and he's saying specifically, let's get it done. There's no reason other than you haven't dealt with your pains. And that goes with all addiction, no matter what it is, whether it's drugs, alcohol, food, sex, cars, whatever it is that we are gravitating towards nonstop. We're trying to escape. And most of us are trying to escape pain that we haven't dealt with yet. So, so he's saying that if you truly want to break a habit, deal with truly what you're stuck on and what you haven't reflected upon. He wants me to, for next live stream, teach everybody how to do their mind space. So we will do that next week, which is actually pretty interesting. And it'll be a shorter version, but it'll sound similar to when I did a past life regression with somebody. But it'll help us get into some of these areas that we're kind of stuck with. My son wanted me to tell his friends that he says hi, and that, with his upcoming death, he can't wait to see everybody at the house for the barbecue. And so he's just really, really excited. He said there's a few kids, he won't call them out right now, that are very close to having babies. And although he's not going to call them out on the video, even though he wants to, he said for anybody who is in that area, and he says, you know who you are. If you're not ready, you're not ready. So make sure that you're doing it because you are ready, and not because of a relationship that's not falling, or that is falling apart, and that you think it's going to help. So, that's some good wisdom in general. We all can have that aspect as well. So, okay. So, which is interesting. Love you, kid. He just said he loved me too. So, okay. So let's get back into the other things. So, and this is interesting because I know this person tends to watch a lot of videos, so I'm not sure if she will watch it. But Terry, I'm supposed to tell you that the pain that you're experiencing in your body is something to be serious, and for you to take it seriously, and in doing so, make sure you go to the doctor. That it's no reason to be stubborn and to feel like, you'll be fine. Because yes, normally you are, but in this case, I am seeing it's something that's avoidable, but yet if you don't, it will cause problems later. And not necessarily death, because sometimes, if that's what we want, then that's what we want. But in this case, it's more of problems. So not being able to care for yourself, and then which would then make you feel like a burden, which you don't ever want to feel that way. So let's get that checked out sooner than later. That would be awesome. Um, yeah, I got a lot of family near me, so which makes me wonder like what's happening in my family. My sister has a message from her dad that there's some big changes coming for her, some good changes. Um, but they might feel bad at first, but they are good changes. So she kind of has to ride the roller coaster a little bit. Um, Keith wants me to tell his daughter that it's very easy to get stuck in a relationship, especially when it feels like you're the one holding it together. And that stuck then becomes the glue that is actually holding it together. When if it's not working out, it's okay to take a step back, even if it's like a trial separation or something like that, just to kind of see where things can improve or where things can change. But in the end, we get stuck on the mindset of our prior generations of we have to stay with somebody our entire marriage, our entire life, which, yeah, we all want that. Yeah, we don't want to find a new person or be with new people. Yet at the same time, we don't always pick appropriately and then we get stuck in said relationships. It's not a sin to want to get a divorce. It might look strange from somebody outside looking in, but nobody's in the house and nobody sees where the disconnect is. And so it's so important to really, again, this stems back to the general message of, finding what makes you happy and moving there. It's never just something so easy of just that, I'll just suck it up. It is what it is. It truly comes down to everyone truly being happy and finding their happiness. So sometimes we'll get stuck in a relationship longer than we should for many reasons. But when the time is right, don't miss the opportunity to leave, because it would be better off in some situations. So he wants you to know you have his permission. And this goes for anybody else that's listening. When you've tried everything you possibly can and you still are not able to make it work, it's okay that it didn't work. And if you're better off as friends, you're better off as friends. And that's okay as well. When it comes to the kids and kids in the household, yeah, it can add confusion. And one thing I've learned through, especially through my training recently, is kids hear everything. And spiritually, they know everything. They're still very connected. So they know when things are off or when things are not right. And a lot of times when we argue at night and we think they're sleeping, they may not be. And they might have heard everything. And so it's so important to just be honest as best as we can. Obviously, we don't have to explain things in adult language, but yet at the same time, everybody fights, everybody disagrees, everybody has problems. And when we can be honest with our kids about it in a healthy way, then it shows them that it's okay to not be perfect, because being perfect is the worst thing we can push upon our kids. Well, one of the worst things. I shouldn't say the worst, but one of the worst things. So find your happiness, because if you have happiness, it don't matter what somebody else is doing, because you're happy, even if the person you're with isn't making you happy. Okay. Nancy wants to say hi. I want to say hi to Kathy. I feel like Nancy says hi to Kathy. You're doing good, girl, she said. Which is awesome. She's pretty funny. She's very flamboyant. So love her. I feel like I met her before. So her energy feels familiar. And as I say that, she's like, I absolutely have. So awesome again. But she's saying, yeah, you're doing great. Even, again, if it doesn't feel like it. So Jerry, your mother wants you to know that it's okay to be fearful right this time in our life with everything that's going on in our society and our world, regardless where people sit or stand politically or within the health crisis or not crisis for some. Um, Again, people are not happy. And I'm glad they said this general message in the beginning because everything seems coming down to finding your happiness, which makes a lot of sense. But when people aren't happy, we tend to gravitate towards a situation. And so, Jerry, just so you know, like, yeah, it kind of sucks right now for you, Jerry H. Um, but yeah, it's the people around you. And if they can just find their happiness, even if you say that, go do something to make yourself happy, then, things will be great. If not, then this is where you're going to be. It just is what it is, and this is where we're going. Okay. Maria wants Roxanne S to know, and that's S as in Sam, but that's not the last name because for privacy, I don't put it out there. If it resonates with you, you know you're the right Maria S. Or Roxanne S from Maria S. So Maria wants you to know that the promotion that you wanted is not happening, but you are offered a different promotion, which doesn't feel like a promotion, but in the long run, it actually is. And it's more of a lateral stepping stone to get you to a promotion that you're looking for. So some of that is the universe needs to have you humble a little bit in order for you to be able to accept the position that you're looking for. And I don't like when they do that, but I understand why they're doing it. The humbling is because the avenue you're going to go down, you need to have a good understanding of what it's like to not always get what you want. And even though I hear that that has been the case for you, when you look at your life for the most part, you pretty much got everything you wanted. It might have taken a little bit longer to get there. It might have been slightly off in some ways and not exactly the way you wanted it. But in the end, you've always had a level of you got what you were asking for, which is a positive and not a bad thing, but at the same time, the opportunity that you are going down really needs you to understand what it's like to not get something that you absolutely wanted. And by doing this whole promotional thing, like this promotion thing, it will cause you to have that experience so that way you can then use it in the next promotion, which it feels like you're working with underprivileged people, especially homeless people, of some form of charity at work as well. And so by you just going through this level of humbleness, even when as saying that, you're sitting there and some others probably thinking, well, that's nothing compared to being homeless or underprivileged. And you're absolutely right. But at the same time, just like I tell everybody else when it comes to grief or just anger and issues, we all experience these things to the level we can experience them. And just because somebody else can compare and say, well, it's not as bad as this, or you can say it's not as bad as that, at the same time, that's still bad for you. At the same time, that's still what you're dealing with. And if that's the worst you've ever had to deal with, okay, awesome. At the same time, you're still going through those same emotions. So not being so hard on yourself in general is always a good thing. We are our worst critics, and nobody can really judge us or hurt us as bad as we can hurt ourselves. And so that is something that we can all do for ourselves, when we're dealing with something, deal with it, feel those feelings, process those hurts, the anger, the frustration, whatever it is. And we got to stop comparing things to everybody else because it doesn't serve a purpose. It just adds more out there of not understanding where someone is coming from, as well as the one-uppers, which just adds to those frustrations. And as I say this, I know how painful some things are. But at the same time, just as I tell everyone who comes to me for spiritual work and is crying because their grandmom has passed away, but then instantly says, but it's not as bad as losing your son. It's just as bad. You had this experience, and this is a terrible experience for you. And it's just as bad as me losing my son. Yes, we can put labels to it and compare it, but it doesn't really do any purpose. All it does is shut you down. So let's not shut each other down anymore. Let's just empathize and just say you're there for them. That's it. Let life be life. Yeah. Okay. So there is a message for Carrie, and I know he tends to watch. But I'm going to private message you what Dad wants to say. I don't want to put it out here. So I will send you a message after this is done through Facebook Messenger. I'm just going to write it down real quick so I don't lose it. Just highlights. Sorry. Once I'm out, I'm not going to be able to remember. As everyone knows that has ever come to see me, I never remember what I tell anybody. Okay. So we're going to do that. Craig S., your grandmother wants you to know that it's time to take some step backs for yourself as well. Even though some people could say you do a lot of things already for yourself, like listening to music and collecting records and things like that, that is true. But at the same time, you stress about money all the time, and that stress, there's never a down point for it. And so it's affecting your body. You're like literally hard as a rock, inside and out. Which is a problem, because nutrients and energy cannot get to your organs and your muscles and things like that. So you will be fatigued, you will be tired, you will be, just aches and pains and just exhausted. So start to breathe, do some belly breaths, as if you're a baby, especially while you are listening to music, since that is your go-to. So instead of just, listening, and then sometimes even like, doing, I don't know what that guy's called, but that stands in front of the orchestra and waves his stick around. So I see you doing that. But as you, are doing that, take deep breaths and let them out. You'd be surprised, as I just took a breath, since I have not really took a breath since I started this session. But that'll help you feel a little bit better. It won't take away some of the stress with everything going on, but at the same time, it could assist in some ways. Michael K., your mother-in-law, your mother-in-law, she wants you to know, again, coming back to finding your happiness. Even if you thought you knew your happiness, which in this case I'm hearing is the situation, sometimes that happiness changes. And then, so if you're forcing yourself to do certain things because it used to make you happy, but now no longer makes you happy, well, now it's time to make a change. Change is good, and we should never be fearful of change. it sucks when it's unexpected, and it sucks when it's, something like a death. But at the same time, change forces us to make changes, to reevaluate some things. And if the change was something similar, in my case, where it was truly a death, that caused me to make some changes. Well, that's just me not sitting in the depression and wondering, why me, and, which I did have for a little bit. But make changes, because it's never going to sit, it's never going to just be good again. We all know if we let food sit out and not move and just sit there, it's going to go rotten, and non-moving water goes stagnant. So we are constantly changing and evolving, even when the change is terrible. So embrace change for what it is. And Mike, you have a lot of changes coming your way. It seems like you never get a break. It seems like every time you feel like there is a break, it gets pulled out from under you. Some of that is some of the people in your life. Some of it is just the things you hold on to and the choices you make, because a lot of times you make those choices in desperation versus trying to plan or to make things a little bit easier, a little bit better for yourself. So yeah, so make some changes, make some good changes. Let's just change some things up, especially those that you have the availability to change. Celeste O, I am hearing that from your grandmother, your family situation is going to change. It's a good thing, but it definitely will feel like a bad thing. And the reason being is it's a bad thing because you're about to have another child come into your home and your space. And, being that, you're a little older and not really planning for that, it is a family child. And the bad thing is because the parents, unfortunately, are not going to make it. And so the child's going to come to you. So it's a bad thing because you're losing some family. It's a good thing because you can offer a home to this child that otherwise wouldn't get a good home. And then add in somebody who's very loving and compassionate that would be able to help them not get stuck on the bad of this situation. I would love to say, like, if you do this, that this will change the situation. But unfortunately, unless your family decides to not leave their house for a good 2 months, this is going to happen, unfortunately. So you can tell them not to go outside, especially at nighttime. There's a drunk driver situation in play here. And for any of you Celeste O's that hear this, if you want to reach out, I will tell you if it's you or not, that you would need to, or you can just tell your family to be safe and not, make choices to not be out after it gets dark, because it does happen kind of late. So the kid's not in the car. The kid is, so it's like a date night for them as well. So, but at the same time, don't then not do a date night and go out with the kid the whole time, because now the kid's in situations of not going to make it. So, sorry. Now, probably wondering, well, why would this have to happen? There's a lot of people who talk about a lot of different ways of how to respond to that. From my own experience, it's to force us into paths that we need to be, as well as agreements that we make before we enter this life. And even though I don't agree with them necessarily, at the same time, I don't really have a say in that. So, for example, for those who know or don't know that my son has passed, if he didn't die, I would not have gotten my mental health counseling degree and, currently practicing in a supervised setting to work with kids, to help them avoid addictions and suicide. Um, my son died, and that's now my purpose. So I know the work I'll do is going to be very rewarding for a lot of the kids I will work with in the future, as well as for myself as well. So sometimes these things, as terrible as they are, there's reasons for them. If we don't get stuck in the depression and stuck in the loss, which again comes back to finding our happiness, because that changes all the time. So I love that it's in for a change, it's intertwined within the messaging. Because, yeah, what used to make me happy when my son was there is not the same as it is today. And rightfully so, because that's a big change. I had to see different goals for myself instead of the goals that I had once he died. So, same thing for anybody out there who's struggling. What are your goals of prior and what are your goals of the future? That's how it helps you identify some of the areas where you might struggle with. So, unfortunately, Celeste, there's some good stuff coming, but it's because of some bad stuff. Just breathe. And any Celeste out there, please reach out to me so I can give you free information. Okay, this goes for anybody who hears me and hears something that resonates with them. Please reach out to me. I will elaborate, or I will find out and ask clarification as well. Even if it's after the fact, you can go through the website and send me an email, and only I will see that as well. Okay, yeah. Carmen on the other side. Oh, well, no, it's a dual message. As soon as I said Carmen, I heard or saw my grandfather step up, which, he is. I do have a Carmen on the other side. But he wasn't the one actually giving that message. It was a different Carmen. But he wanted to say hi. So, hi. So the other Carmen on the other side wants his daughter to know if she wants to get married to her boyfriend, she's got to do the proposing. He, as much as he wants to do it, will never speak those words because he's afraid of screwing it up. So if you truly don't want to be the one to propose to him, then next time you watch a movie where there's a wedding in it, or a proposal, I should say, voice out how you would want it done, and that will help him be able to propose, because otherwise he ain't gonna do it, unfortunately. So yeah, just let him know he doesn't want to screw it up, which, he said you could be a little bit of a control person, so you like things the way you like them. And that also comes with the proposal, and as much as you do talk about it, he's not listening. You would have to do it when you're watching a movie, so just do that. All right, let me see who else wants to speak today. What time is it? It's almost 40 minutes. Or 35 by the time I start. But they're going back to the general message again. And the only way we can stop this clear divide amongst people, since various reasons, I'm not going to go into them, but the various states of our society and our world, the clear divide and the inability to get back together as people, is truly dealing with your own stuff, dealing with your own sadness, your own anger, your own depression. Just deal with it. deal with it in a way that makes sense to you. So if it's doing stained glass work for me, that's what I do. If it's talking about your feelings, talk about your feelings. If it's just spending time with yourself with a book, spend time with yourself with a book. Know you and know what that is. And if you don't know what that is, then tune in for next week. Because if you tune in for next week, or you eventually watch the next week's episode, you will be able to identify what that is, and not only that, but what it is that you need to work on in order to find that happiness, to find what truly makes you happy. When we are not happy, no one else can make us happy. And that's one of the biggest life lessons that I've learned, that no one can make me happy. I can make me happy. Others can do things to enhance that happiness, but in the end, the happiness comes from within. Just like the love for myself comes from within. Somebody can say they love you, and maybe you feel it, maybe you don't. But if you don't love yourself and every part of yourself, you will never, ever truly feel loved. And that's a shame, because in the end, we all should feel that, because feeling love feels good. Feeling happy and happiness is good, and no one can do that for us. So next week we will do it together. I will be talking you through it, and everyone that watches it then or in the future, as you do it with me, it's going to be very eye-opening for you, and it will help you with a lot of things. So collectively, spirits are all backing off on me a little bit, and I think it's because I do need to reach out to 2 other people privately. But I want to thank everybody who came on today, and I will make sure that this is a regular thing again. I know a lot of people asked where it was and all that, and if you have suggestions or topics you want me to talk about, please send it to me. You can message it. You can put it on the comment section, whatever it is that you want to do. And I will make sure I get to them at some point. Otherwise, I know eventually I talked about doing some self-help stuff. It's a little hard with the computer without an actual webcam. But it's not impossible. It just makes it more challenging. So I'll figure something out. Even if it's like, pictures or something. But if you have something specific that you want me to work on, just tell me. Otherwise, everyone have a wonderful Wednesday and the rest of the week. And I'm going to reach out to a few of the people that I said I'd reach out to. So thank you and enjoy.